Hello, everybody, and welcome to Speed Sport Live from Seafair 2023, presented by Toyota. We're here for the HomeStreet Bank APBA Gold Cup here in Seattle. We'll be taking this battle to Lake Washington here. It is a beautiful day here. The race will unfold here for the coveted APBA Gold Cup. And it's getting ready to get started here shortly. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Arnold, joined alongside Nate Brown. Nate, what a beautiful day here. And the great thing is, this is where you're from. This is your backyard. You said you grew up right across the way. But the interesting thing I found out, 10 years ago, this Sunday, you proposed to your wife.
I did.
At the Gold Cup in Detroit, Michigan.
After we won the Gold Cup
after
in Detroit.
You won it,
yeah,
you
which
had
was
a
even
beautiful,
better, right?
Yeah, what a great scenery there. But it's kind of a little bit bittersweet for coming back here, too. It's your hometown. It's the Gold Cup. It's the first time that it's been here since 1984, so
Crazy.
Very special for you.
Yeah, it really is. It's a wonderful thing to be here in my hometown, to watch all this stuff happening, to see all these things. I don't know if you guys can see these things here, but I was really blessed to be able to win the Gold Cup 3 times, once as a crew chief, once as a driver, once as an owner. I think I'm the only one to be able to do that, but it's been just a great ride.
I don't believe anybody's ever done that before, and that's the incredible thing. And wow, look at these things. They're actually incredible. The gold on them. Talk about the bling, the reflecting out the lights. But, man, these guys are going to be definitely chasing for one of these rings. Yeah. I know it's very special, and usually the team owner, if you win the Gold Cup, he'll get you set up with one of these. And
well, it's up to the owners, like I said. The first one I won, obviously beautiful jewelry. Second one was it's really heavy, solid gold from Kim Gregory. And this one's the one that I bought for my crew. Obviously, it's just silver because I didn't have any money. But they all got a Gold Cup ring, and most of them are wearing them here this weekend.
Well, to get one of these rings, let's talk a little bit about what H1 Unlimited is. We're going to talk a little bit about what these boats do out on the water. And we're going to go ahead and go down and talk wild.
First off, pinnacle boat racing, but it's also the fastest sport on water.
It's whatever. What is H1? I said that, and I didn't know we were going to go 12 seconds to it. I'm sorry.
A fast boat with a jet engine in it.
I'm sorry. That's my ball.
Very fast.
Yeah, pick up. Okay. Yeah, got it. Okay, my bad. Okay. Well, if you guys are unfamiliar with unlimited hydroplane racing here at H1, it's a little bit different than most boat racing out there, and we got a lot of these drivers that are going to explain it, so let's check it out.
Rush.
Wild.
First off, it's pinnacle boat racing, but it's also the fastest sport on water.
It's what every little kid wants to do when he's a young boat racer.
A fast boat with a jet engine in it that turns left.
It's very fast, and that's why I do it.
We're doing an average speed of over 160, and our straightaway speeds are closer to 200 miles an hour.
They're like an airplane. They're flying on top of the water.
You're bouncing all over the place, and you're trying to feel what the boat is doing.
That feeling of going 200 across the water is pretty awesome. Finding the edge and walking it is the fastest way around the race course.
It is a spectacle for sure.
Side-by-side racing. You're deck to deck.
When you see 5 rooster tails right next to each other, that's 2 tons of water going up.
It's that pucker factor. You really drive it off your butt, you want that feeling, when the boat's flying.
So you see a 200-mile-an-hour race boat go through a corner side by side, pulling 6 Gs. You've never seen anything like it.
It's the elite drivers, the crews, the elite teams. It's the top level.
This is the goal. If we want to race for the Gold Cup and win championships.
The most amazing sport in the world, that's what I'd say.
Unlike any other motorsport out there.
The biggest, fastest power boats in the world.
It's the absolute pinnacle of boat racing.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of good old boys going boat racing.
It's just a lot of fun.
Insight what H1 Unlimited hydroplanes are. Nate, so awesome to see all that. But, we've got a great battle. You want me to welcome back or no? No welcome back. Yeah, you threw me on that one. It was like coming out of commercial. that's just a little insight on what goes into the H1 Unlimited hydroplane racing. Nate, so awesome to hear from those drivers to explain a little bit of going on. But we have the third member of our broadcast team that's talked to a few of these three drivers that are in contention for the championship. Erica?
Corey, you've been on an absolute tear as of late, and it seems like nobody can really solve the Peabody puzzle. What's been key to your success, do you think, recently?
We have a really great boat. We put a good boat together in this off season, and everything's kind of lining up. But you just got to be smart and not make any stupid mistakes and hope for the best. But right now the boat's running good. Ran flawlessly last weekend. Right now we're getting set up to go out and qualify here in Seattle, and we'll see what we can do.
And what would it mean to you and your team to win a second Gold Cup?
Oh man, the Gold Cup's huge. It's no words really, but I've got my name on it now. My teammate has his name on it, so that's really cool. But once those boats go on the water, it's we're all or nothing. And so I'm gonna give it my best. My team's gonna give it our best, and we're gonna see who comes out on top.
Now with the other driver in this championship hunt, J. Michael Kelly. J. Michael, you are sitting 19 points ahead of your best friend and teammate, Corey Peabody, coming into the weekend. Do you like where you're sitting, or where do you evaluate where you're at?
No, I mean, considering where I left off last year and till now, I mean, it says a lot about the team and the commitment they had of providing a boat it's so much better. I mean, it's to where we're at right now says a lot about this team, and it's like the first time in my racing career that I've been leading points going into the last race, so it's pretty cool, as far as team points.
It's definitely a good place to be sitting, but now you found a lot of success here at Seafair in the past with 4 wins and 7 podium finishes. Do you feel like that'll help you here this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this course is a really challenging race course, and I think it's one of those courses that kind of evens out the playing field. So I've won here 4 other times with boats that have been a lot less, not as fast as other guys, and so it really comes down to a driver's race course, and I have a lot of experience on this race course, since 2004, so that's quite a while.
Well, we look forward to seeing how this one unfolds, and we wish the both of you the best of luck this weekend.
Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome back. I'm here with Dustin Eccles. Right now, you're the top qualifier this week, and wouldn't it be cool if that held on?
It would be, yeah. So far, so good. We're trying to fly a little under the radar, but we came out pretty fast. So.
No, it's great. The Flavor Pack's your new sponsor this year, Karen and Shelley Stockland, owners of that boat. And I got to tell you, it's really cool watching you run. It's neat seeing how you've progressed as a driver, too, from the 440 up into this big ride and learning the boat and everything. I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a learning curve for me, but we've got the right people behind us. We've got Flavor Pack on board, and we've got, our team has so much experience, so much knowledge that whenever I stumble a little bit, they're right there to pick me up.
No, that's great. And you're learning everything all the time. I could even see it out there. This is the first time you've been going that fast with those log boom rollers coming in and out. And we could see the first lap or two, you were like, whoa, what's this? You could see you getting on that canard too hard. And by the third one, you were letting it fly. You were letting it go good, and you were letting it eat. So
yeah.
That's really good.
It's just, seat time. And as you know, we talked a little bit before, it's just getting more laps in and getting more comfortable with the boat, and it keeps getting better for us. So I'm pretty excited for this weekend.
Oh, that's great. And Flavor Pack, what a great sponsor. The owner over there in Tri-Cities, being able to come on board. I hope he sticks with you guys, because I think he'd be really good for the future. Both you got a good display boat too in the 440, right? Your old ride.
We do. We actually have a running display boat. So that's really something, and it feels like a great fit. Right now, everyone's happy and having a great time, so it's great to have them on board.
So what's left in the tank for the next qualifying round?
Well, we've actually got quite a bit. So our first test session, some of our data didn't read, so we were a little blind going into that first qualifier, and we came back. We were pleasantly surprised at what we had left, at what we can do, and a few changes to make. So I think we'll be faster here coming up.
No, that's great. So, Dustin, I tell you, I wish you the very, very best for Flavor Pack. I hope you can maintain top qualifier, and we hope that right now that we're going to see him up here again. So I'm going to teach you something here, just like getting out of the cockpit. You know how you take your headphones off, or your helmet off and all that stuff? So take your headphones off, and we're going to smooth you out of here, and we're going to bring Dave right back in here. So thanks a lot, Dustin. Dave, welcome back. And you were working on some tech stuff down below, I understand.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. There's like a lot of changes in this course. I know over the years they've changed the distances, and we were a little bit around 3 miles when we were in Tri-Cities, and of course, we've gone from 2.5 miles to 2 miles. Well, one of the things they have to do is a little bit of adjustment. As you well know, the gearboxes, it's like a transmission on a car, and you got to get it accordingly. So it's so cool to see a lot of that cool stuff, how they can just change up a little bit and adjust to the track, because this is a rough one for sure.
Oh boy, I tell you it is.
So we're going to talk to Brian a little about how it unfolds and how they do this.
We pretty much go back to the shop. We change gear ratios for the most part. There's some propeller adjustment that we do. And of course, we'll sometimes move turn fins, angles of the turn fins in and out for a smaller course, tighter course. Ultimately, we need to accelerate. You'll be down a straightaway a lot quicker, out of the corner, the acceleration out of the corner. You know, we're regulated on RPMs pretty much. So it's just like running a short track in a car or anything else. You need to get from first to third gear. You don't have time to get to fifth. So therefore, you go to a smaller gear ratio, which will get you up to those RPMs quicker.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's very cool to see. And, you know, one of the things that it's like, I'm going to compare it to like a transmission on a car, you know, for the different tracks. They change the gearing on it. They do a lot of different stuff. And, of course, the rough water, the rollers. Now, he talked about the qualifying water. He talked about the race water. Well, in your qualifying, it is one boat at a time. So it's pretty much throw everything you can. You're going to have the best conditions of water you can. You get into race conditions, then it's going to get rough. You got rollers, you got slappers, and this definitely this water is known for being a little rough there for sure. So it's kind of cool to see all the things that you could do to make it adjust to this type of track. So thank you, Brian, so much for checking it out and letting us know a little insight in doing that. Well, I've got a very special guest, Kathy McLemore. You are the co-race chair here for Seafair. You'll put on this awesome event here and talk about a storied history here in Seattle, Washington, on Lake Washington.
It's a very privilege to be the co-race chair of all the people that are down here. And as you've seen Nate, you've seen Dustin, I've watched all of them grow up. This is my 54th year of being this, and I am going out in a Gold Cup, and I'm so privileged to be involved with Seafair. I have done everything. I'm looking at Nate's rings here. I've got a button on. And anyway, I have to say that we do a lot of different functions here. We have vendors up in the park. We have a BMX down there in the south end. We have the air show that goes all day long almost, and to watch the boats run. And the fun part is watching the little kids that are from 9 to 16 in these little J boats. And I'm sure Nate probably started in a J boat also, and Dustin did too. And Dustin has a daughter who's, you know, been running through that too. So it's kind of fun to be involved.
And it's kind of cool in a lot of the motorsports. I know, like in motocross or supercross, they've got little peewee boats or bikes going now, and the striders and all this. Now, with the boat racing, this is the way for the kids to get involved, and it's kind of cool to have it part of that here.
It is.
And that's great to see. It shows, that the sport has a future generation that's going to move up. I know some, we've got good young still drivers out there, but seeing the young drivers here, and you know what, they're always the fan favorites, the kids. Who doesn't love to watch a kid race out there?
Just to watch them get in there, the grins that they get on their faces when they come off and take their helmets off. And it's the same thing with the regular big boats and all the other boats. And you see the vintage boats out there. I mean, those are some of the old ones that we restore, we brought back. They're out running. Now, these boats here, the vintage from the Hydro Museum. We have 3 of them that are Gold Cup winners, and the one that's a Squire Shop, of course, it's still a pickle fork, so we got the pickle forks. And if you look as you're walking into the pits, anybody that comes down to see us this year, we have the slow-mo boat, which is the one that brought the Gold Cup to Seattle.
Well,
brought
cool.
the races to Seattle.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this. It's the first time since 1984 that the Gold Cup's been back here in Seattle.
1985.
Or 85, I'm sorry. So we're looking at, 28 years now going on?
Got that right. My husband was race chairman that year.
So very cool. Now, let's talk about what does that mean for the community? And I mean, Seafair, it's always been going on. It's a big event here. But actually have the Gold Cup here to bring this part of the Seafair this year. I'm looking around, and there are so many fans there. I imagine it's a huge impact on the community and the economics.
It is. To mention Gold Cup in Seattle, it brings a lot of memories to a lot of people. It brings a lot of people coming to this event so they can watch these boats, and they know that they're really going to be putting the pedal to the metal because they know they're all going for top points on this. So
And let alone the restaurants, the hotels,
all of the,
the convenience stores, all the stuff, the vendors that are here.
Oh.
And what a great vendor row you guys have. That's incredible.
You like that?
That's great. It's set up. U.S. Navy set up over there. We've got the Blue Angels merchandise, all the great
I've
foods.
got HomeStreet out there.
HomeStreet Bank.
Hey, yeah, they've
That's
been our
right.
sponsor for years, and we're just so privileged to
And of course,
have
this
them.
is the HomeStreet Bank APBA Gold Cup.
HomeStreet Bank APBA Gold Cup. Yes, it is.
And of course, they had a big parade last week, so it's been a fleet week.
I
It's
was
been
in there.
It was a whole week long. It's so incredible.
No, it starts the first part of June, first part of July.
It just keeps
I'm
going.
sorry.
It's all month
Yeah.
long.
The Pirate does their landing, and that starts it from there. We have fireworks show. We have, I'm trying to remember all. We have the parade. So yeah, there's
good
different communities, smaller communities. You've got Wallingford, you've got Des Moines, you've got right down here on Rainier Avenue. All these different communities that do different events all month long, celebrating seafair stuff.
Well, I got to thank you for everything you do and your entire Seafair, Kathy. It's great. Of course, again, Kathy McLemore, thank you so much. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Dave.
And thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, too. And thank you. And we can't wait to come back. It's so awesome. So we're going to switch you out and bring back the 3-time APBA Gold Cup winner there, those rings, Nate Brown. Little hot swap on the set here. So awesome. Big thanks again to the folks at Seafair and Kathy and Nate. I'm sure you've known Kathy a long time.
She's one of the keys here.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it keeps, when I was a driver, just a driver, she would get me my motorhome down here. Most drivers didn't have that happen. And then she would get me a car pass. And all these little, this year I brought her eggs from our farm. Right?
Oh, nice.
So it's one of those things where she helps make it easy for us down here, and it's just awesome. And it's great she's still doing it.
No, wait, hold on a second. You mentioned eggs. You mentioned the farm.
You want eggs now, too? I got another dozen in the motorhome. That's fine.
Okay, we might do that. But
Yeah,
you told
okay.
me a little bit this morning, the chicken that picks the
Yeah,
winner.
yeah, I have a pit chicken here. We definitely have brought a chicken. We actually went home last night and got another one, too. But last year, we had a chicken, and at nighttime, people are drinking and have a good time down here,
Yes,
right? So we brought the chicken down to the pits, and we let the chicken pick the winner. And it actually worked. The chicken that was on top of the boat that won last year, J. Michael Kelly. So
Does it leave a little present for him?
No, it didn't. It didn't. So we brought 2 chickens this year. We're going to see which one it's going to pick tonight. So it's all
You
good.
let him loose. Who's going to jump on
Yeah,
the
that's
on the
right.
boat?
That's
There
right. Plus,
go.
we have fresh eggs for the morning.
Well, let's talk about what's going to be unfolding tomorrow. Of course, we had qualifying going on. You had Dustin Eccles just on, top qualifier. By the way, the guy said 171 miles in Gunnersville. Wow.
Yeah, no,
But,
he's got some speed there.
He's got some speed, but there's a lot going on. We got a lot of heat races. There's,
Yep.
4 heat races in with the Gold Cup?
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot, and there's an extra heat here too, right? Normal boat race is 3 heats and a final. Here, there's 4 heats and a final because you have to travel so many miles to be a legal Gold Cup race, right? That's how you bid for that. So there's a lot of attrition, a lot of wear and tear, a lot of team. It's all a total team effort. I mean, the driver is just one little piece of the element. It's all the inspections and everybody doing the right thing. I mean, right down to the guy holding the rope on the boat. If he doesn't do it right, then it doesn't get in the water right, and you don't get your timing down right. So it really does make a big difference.
And the whole thing, it was a Seafair. It's just not the boat racing. And I think Kathy mentioned there's a BMX stunt show going on. We've got the Blue Angels Air Show. I know the Golden Knights parachute team.
Yep.
They're the demo team's going to be jumping out over Lake Washington here. Hopefully they don't land on the water if they got a nice barge maybe to do on.
Yep.
But there's just a lot of going on here. I mean, for you, you've seen it all unfold over the years.
Yeah, but it's still exciting for me to come down here. I love seeing the kids in the J-Stock Hydros. My niece, I just won 2 heats out here, so that's kind of cool. My bonus son just came up and brought my glasses up here, right? So it's cool to see him involved in the sport with a team on the 11 boat. And so it really is a family thing, and it's easy to get, volunteer down here. They need volunteers. So if you're watching this and you live anywhere near Seattle, volunteer.
Yeah, that's very cool. So, folks, you're going to have to make sure you check out all this great action. If you can't make it down here, you can, of course, H1 Unlimited, Hydroplane, of course, they have their YouTube page. You can check it all our social media on Speed Sport. You make sure you check out all the information for myself, Dave Arnold, and, of course, Nate Brown. We'll bring you a lot more here, so make sure you tune in. We'll see you on the water.
Good morning, Unlimited Hydroplane race fans, and welcome to H1 Unlimited's live YouTube channel coverage of the 2023 HomeStreet Bank APBA Gold Cup on Lake Washington. My name is Brad Luce. I will be assisting here with the coverage on H1 Unlimited's YouTube channel here. We are getting ready to go qualifying again this morning. And for those of you out there that are thinking to yourself, we went qualifying yesterday. Well, yes, we did, but there was a schedule conflict that involved the air show. That's the short answer. And the air show can't move, and so bottom line, we did not get the opportunity to finish our full qualifying session yesterday. So we are going to do that first thing this morning, and then we are going to go testing after that. So of our 9 boats in the pit area, all went out yesterday and qualified, but only 2 of those 9 boats had an opportunity to come back out and make a second run. So the other 7 boats are going to have the opportunity to come out this morning, run some hot laps around the 2-mile Ted Jones racecourse, and see if they cannot increase or improve their qualifying speeds from yesterday. Obviously, it is important for those of you who are fans of this sport. You know there are points to be earned in our qualifying session, so it is important. But let's take an opportunity now to look at our qualifying ladder as it stands right now, and all of these speeds are official. The boats have all gone through tech inspection, and everybody, quite candidly, everybody passed tech inspection, so nobody had a violation there that would cost them to get a time not recorded. So those of you on the live stream that are looking at the screen there, you'll see our top qualifier was Dustin Eccles driving the Flavor Pack. Dustin came out and turned a qualifying speed of 152.498 miles per hour. Now, what we have to remember, this is the APBA Gold Cup, and it's been 2 years since we went qualifying at the APBA Gold Cup. Because if you will remember, last year in Guntersville, Alabama, we waived the need to qualify because of the schedule and timing down in Guntersville. So we did not have Gold Cup qualifying last year. We do this year. It's been a couple of years, and there is a different rule for Gold Cup qualifying. Instead of just taking the fast lap from the boat, and they do get to come out and run 3 times around if they would like, under the Gold Cup rules, it is the fastest 2 consecutive laps averaged together. So it's either lap 1 and 2 or lap 2 and 3 averaged together. Dustin Eccles, his 2-lap average, the fastest was 152.498. You see Andrew Tate on the screen with the U91, the Miss Goodman Real Estate. He was our second fastest qualifier, right there with Dustin. He, Andrew, at 152.171. Then it was Corey Peabody. He's been our top qualifier at 2 of our 3 races already this year. Corey in the Beacon Plumbing, the bright white U9. Corey was in at 151.297, and on down the list. The HomeStreet at 149. J. Michael Kelly in the Beacon Electric at 149. Bobby King, the rookie, in the Graham Trucking, the U12, with a 2-lap average of 147.454, followed very closely by Jamie Nielsen in the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. He came in at 147. Then it was the rookie Gunnar O'Farrell at 145.572. He is driving the U60, the Beast Unleashed. Gotta like that name. The Beast Unleashed presents the Miss Thriftway. The boat is absolutely gorgeous, painted up like Bill Muncie's ride in the early 1960s. And then on the bottom of the ladder is the U440 and Brent Hall. Big story there. Brent Hall was trying to get qualified as an H1 Unlimited driver. He was trying to get qualified in Guntersville. He got a few laps in. It didn't happen. He tried to finish the job in the Tri-Cities last weekend on the Columbia River. It didn't happen there. The idea was to get it done here. Unfortunately for Brent, he came up 1 lap short. The Achilles heel for the 440 has been the gearbox, and they exploded the gearbox again yesterday. They are done. The boat did get qualified. The boat got qualified at 133.739. Brent came out on the second attempt at qualifying. He needed 2 laps, both in excess of 130 miles an hour. He turned his first one north of 130. We thought it was all going to happen. He just needed to run the second lap when the gearbox let go in the 440 Boitano home. So a tough break for Brent Hall. He did not get qualified. They are done. So our 9-boat field is now down to an 8-boat field. As far as I mentioned, 2 boats got to run twice yesterday. The 2 were the U440 that I just mentioned, Brent Hall, and also the rookie Gunnar O'Farrell in the U60. The Beast Unleashed presents Miss Thriftway. So those 2 speeds down at the bottom, those 2 boats got to run twice. So they are the 2 that will not have an opportunity to come out for a second qualifying run. And you see a hot start down there in the U91, the Goodman Real Estate. Andrew Tate, he is away from the dock. Had some spent fuel there in the exhaust cone of the U91, the Goodman Real Estate. The boat is coming up on a plane. Cool temperatures here this morning and an overcast sky as some clouds have moved into the Pacific Northwest. They came up from the southwest. And we were told last night that we would have perhaps a bit of humidity here in the Pacific Northwest, which we really don't get a whole lot of. And indeed, when we walked out this morning, we could feel the increased humidity. What does that do? The cooler temperatures and the humidity are going to cause these boats to have a little bit more horsepower. If you were listening yesterday, John Walters, my broadcast partner on the PA and here on the H1 Unlimited YouTube network, was explaining exactly just what happens as the temperature rises above 59 degrees. These motors tend to lose up to 10 horsepower per temperature degree. Now, off the top end of the race course, here comes Andrew Tate, currently on the clock and on the board at 152.171. This is a qualification run. He's going to have 3 laps to try, and he picks up the right spots in there and waves it at his pit crew as he heads into the lower end of the race course. This is a 2-mile race course. So I had some comments coming in on my phone last night. People were asking how come the speeds were down from last week. Smaller race course. Straightaways are shorter. Not going to get the high speeds that you saw last week in the Tri-Cities. So Andrew Tate up the backstretch. U91, the Goodman Real Estate. He would love to knock down Dustin Eccles here and claim a spot at the top of the qualifying ladder, at least for a little bit of time here. But we got some hot boats still yet to come. Look at Andrew flying to 91. And his first lap is in the books. Remember, this is a 2-lap average. It's the fastest 2 laps, but it has to be 2 consecutive laps. So either 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. First lap speed coming in at 152.927. So there's a good lap for Andrew. And as you can see, looking on the screen, it is absolutely perfect water conditions here for the young man out of Canton, Michigan. The very famous I-90 floating bridge in the background as Andrew comes off the top end of the race course. He'll come down and put 2 in the books. There is 2 up and 2 down. First lap speed, 152.927. We'll get the second lap here popping up. Oh, look at this. Going to go in the right direction. 153. That's 153.639. That would put him at the top of the qualifying ladder with a speed, an average between those 2 laps of something in the 153.3 range, just looking at the numbers. But this one could be hotter yet. Nice line through the corner for Andrew Tate, Canton, Michigan, U91, Goodman Real Estate. He will hammer it across the line. Now he will pull his foot, and we will have lap 3 here momentarily. Got to be a good run for Andrew. I think he has to be happy with that. That one's going to come in at 155.292. So we are going to average together The second lap and the third lap, that is going to put Andrew Tate atop the qualification ladder, at least temporarily on two fronts. Number one, we still have some other boats to come out and take a second shot at qualifying, but also the speeds are official. They're official in the sense that they're not going to change, but they're unofficial in the sense the boat still has to go through tech inspection. So we will monitor the radios and keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, the team from Madison, Indiana, and Miss Madison Racing Incorporated, I would think, has to be pretty happy with that run at 154.462 miles per hour. My crackerjack producer engineer here, who is quick with the calculator, comes up with 154.462 for Andrew Tate in the U91. Good run. Very, very good run. Looking down toward the pit area, from what I can see from here, the U1, the Miss HomeStreet, is in the water. And hanging over the water right now is the U9. That would be the Beacon Plumbing, Corey Peabody's ride. Now, I'm not sure anybody is in the water at this particular time of day, but if you happen to be watching this on your phone and you've got somebody in the water and swimming, well, we need them out of the water. It's going to be a little cooler today.
I started to tell people stay out of the water swimming. Big level, not swimming. Where's Nick?
Welcome back to the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel, live streaming action of the 2023 APBA Gold Cup. Sponsored by HomeStreet Bank, Beacon Plumbing. Away from the dock, Dylan Runny, driver of the U1, the Miss HomeStreet. Dylan currently on the ladder in fourth place, with a two-lap average yesterday of 149.630. One thing we do definitely need to talk about is the fact that this is an APBA Gold Cup, and I mentioned the different qualifying method that we have for the Gold Cup and the fact that it is a two-lap average and not just a hot lap. The Gold Cup qualifying all-time record on a two-mile race course was set in 2019 on the Ohio River at Madison, Indiana, as Dylan Runny comes across the start-finish line and the defending national high points champion, the U1, the Miss HomeStreet, and we have got him now on the clock for his qualifying session number 2. But looking back at these Gold Cup speed records on a 2-mile race course, which is what we're on here, the previous record, and I say previous because it is long since gone after yesterday, was held by Jimmy Shane in the Miss HomeStreet set in Madison, Indiana of 2019. That Gold Cup qualifying record was 148.885 miles an hour. We are far above that number now. Andrew Tate this morning clocking in at 154. It still has to go through tech inspection, but Dustin Eccles broke that record, as did many others yesterday. So fast qualifying here for the 2023 APBA Gold Cup on the Ted Jones Racecourse. And as Dylan Runny goes down through the bottom end of the racecourse, let's look at that. There is a good speed for Dylan Runny, certainly an improvement over his 149 yesterday, this time at 150. That's 150.485, and just like that, he's all the way up into the floating bridge turn. But I'd like to take this opportunity right now, as we did yesterday, to welcome to the microphone my good friend, and I am so pleased to have this guy with me, John Walters, on the microphone. We are on the H1 Unlimited live stream around the world right now, so good morning.
Hey, good morning, and good morning, Seattle. This is just a wonderful opportunity to be here, and what a difference from yesterday and today. Bright, clear, hot, sunny weather and all yesterday, and today it's a lot different. Overcast. The water is excellent right now. Nice, cool temperatures. The engines are liking that a lot. These guys that get the opportunity to run earlier this morning will have a definite advantage if as the temperature goes up and the water gets rougher. So, yeah, Dylan's doing a great job with the boat here. This boat is just fast. It's been always fast. I think you could hang a couple outboards on it and qualify it at most of the races. So it just does everything right.
Well, I was speaking for you a little bit earlier, but one of the things I heard on the news last night was we might wake up this morning and find a little added humidity today, and we did. When I walked out this morning, I certainly felt it as Dylan Runny comes across and puts the last of his 3 laps in the books. The second one was 149.653. 149. We will see what lap 3 is. How does the humidity affect these motors?
The humidity actually does affect the engines quite a bit, as much as temperature and altitude and that sort of thing. And it's a combination that they call density altitude. And as that density altitude gets higher, the air gets thinner. But in this case, with the humidity and all, as cool as it is, that's not a bad thing. In fact, the engines are hoping that it rains, and they get a little water injection there, and that's a wonderful thing for them. And the crew chiefs and the engines builders, like that as well, as that water comes through there. We used to, in the old days, before there were rules against that sort of thing, actually use water as an injection. In fact, at some points in time, we actually used water and alcohol as injected in there.
Really?
And it does a couple of things. One, it cools down the inlet temperature, fools the fuel control into thinking that it's a whole bunch cooler and allows a little more fuel flow a little more quickly. The other thing that it does is that water goes through there, and of course it cannot be compressed, so it ends up, the centrifugal effect throws it to the outside, and it closes up the gap between the tips and the compressor cases in there, and the engines get real efficient at that point at a much cooler temperature, and they get real happy.
So if there's any question in anybody's mind that happens to be watching the H1 Unlimited live stream now, why we brought you on board, Mr. Walters, I can talk all day long about what's going on out on the water, and you can talk about what's going on.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Very good insight, and that's why you're here. Thank you, and it's just a pleasure to work with you here. We had a couple of hot laps this morning turned in by Andrew Tate and at U91, the Goodman Real Estate. We're still waiting to find out if the boat cleared tech inspection, but you see we've got a new top speed atop the ladder there at 154.461. He was the first out on the water, and the boat looked really good.
Yeah, I actually saw the run. I was in the pits over there and saw it from that vantage point. And I'm still involved with safety and technical inspectors over there and trying to put out a couple of fires over there and figure out how we're going to do things while they're over there and I'm over here. And that's working well. And I, got a great deal of respect for, both Steve Compton and Brian Vincent over there that are, helping with this safety and technical inspection stuff now. And they do a great job. They're very confident, very competent, know the stuff well. They're learning the engines and things as we go along here, and it's great to have them on board. And it allows me to do, things like this, which I very much appreciate. And yeah, the boat looked really good. And again, I think, a portion of those fast times are because of this cool, dense air, and the water was wonderful when, Andrew was out there earlier.
So not quite sure who is coming next. We have the U9 has been in the water. From our vantage point here to the pit area, we can see just one area of the pit area here. And I know the U9, Corey Peabody's ride is in the water. They just dropped in the U8, J. Michael Kelly's ride. That's the Beacon Electric. We were looking at some speeds down here and some speed records, John. And I noticed Gold Cup speed records on a 2-mile race course. If you look at these numbers, the qualifying record on a 2-mile race course for the Gold Cup is 148.885 miles an hour. That was set by Jimmy Shane in 2019 on the Ohio River at Madison, Indiana. We shattered that record yesterday.
Absolutely. And and again, the credit goes to these teams that work so hard on this stuff. As time has gone on, there have been rules and regulations imposed. They've got less fuel than they had in the past. The boats are heavier than they were in the past. They've got RPM limitations on the past. Yet they continue to go faster, and that's just the hard work, the dedication that goes into working on these things, and all the effort that it makes to go fast. And they work on better aerodynamics, better hydrodynamics, get the boat to push a little bit easier, turn a little better, and with less horsepower than they had before, they've had to work on other areas. And like I say, those aerodynamics, making it a little bit cleaner and slipping through the air a little better, hydrodynamics where they get as much stuff out of the water as they can and free that up a little bit. And the propeller technology has come leaps and bounds, and that's why we're seeing these big jumps.
And of course the 2-mile Gold Cup courses that we've run on were 2019 in Madison that we were just referring to, and 1988 in Evansville. And we start looking at 2-mile speed records, not 2-mile Gold Cup speed records, to what you were just talking about on how things have changed. We look at the standing speed record for all 2-mile courses. Your friend Mr. Hanauer in 1993 in the Budweiser at Evansville qualified at 165.974. That's picking them up and laying them down. I think that record's going to stand.
Yeah, I think it will too. It absolutely will, with the fuel restrictions and all that sort of thing. And I remember back in the day, I set a world record in Evansville on a 2-mile course there at 132 miles an hour. That was faster than anybody had ever gone before.
Wow.
And these guys warm up faster than that.
Speaking of warming up, our top qualifier from yesterday is Dustin Eccles. He has since been knocked down by Andrew Tate, but here is the second run for Dustin Eccles, driving the U40, the flavor pack for Sharon and Kelly Stocklin out of Snohomish. You see how hard he comes out of the pit area and up the backstretch, gets things all warmed up. See if he doesn't slide out a little wider like he did yesterday. He is going to do that and get a solid run down the front straightaway. John Walters, I watched this guy turn a lap north of $171 down in Guntersville, and it was a flying.
It is. These guys have a little top end on just about everybody here, I believe, and Dustin's going to show that to us now, even on this short course, and that's one of the reasons he went deep up there by the floating bridge in the north turn and came down and stayed out a little bit wide, so that when he gets up there here in another 25 seconds or so, he didn't leave a big wake for himself to run over.
Outstanding shots by our H1 Unlimited live streaming crew. You saw as Dustin Eccles goes up the backstretch, but zeroing right in on that raceboat down the front straightaway. It is really, really a good shot. Now off the top end, tightens it up a little bit, but we've seen some of the other drivers in a little tighter. He might pull it a little tighter on the subsequent laps, but right now coming down to put one in the book, waving the sponsons, Dustin Eccles driving a flavor pack, the U40. First one is in the books. He was Our top qualifier yesterday with an average speed of 152.498. We'll see if he's able to improve upon that right now. Waiting for the first speed to come through. It is 152. 152.319 miles an hour. Again, remember, fans, if you just tuned in, it's a 2-lap average, the 2 fastest consecutive laps. So it's either lap 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. Looked like he tightened it up off the top end a little bit, John.
Yeah, that was a much better turn. In that first turn, about halfway just about to the apex, you saw that big gap in the rooster tail coming off the skid fin. That's where the fin unhooked, and Justin had to make an adjustment there to get the boat back in the lane, pointed in the direction that he wanted it to. And he's working real hard down the straightaways here. You can see the sawtooth in the rooster tail there that lets you know that the propeller's moving in and out of the water just a little bit, and he's flying the boat really high. It's nice and loose.
153, that's 153.436 miles an hour. Just reminding our fans, Andrew Tate, our top qualifier, with a 2-lap average of 154.4. So if Dustin's going to sit atop the ladder, he's going to have to crank it up a bit on this particular lap. He's off the pin clean. He will come down. Dustin Eccles driving the U40, the Flavor Pack, brand new sponsor last week in the Tri-Cities. And Dustin puts 3 laps in the books this morning. Boy, look at the shot, John, we're getting for folks on the live stream. Well, it's beautiful pictures of that boat as he comes down the front straightaway.
It is great shots, and we've got so much technology in the pits today that we didn't have, not that long ago with, these great shots that we're seeing here and the stuff from overhead with the drones and that sort of thing. And we've got a whole group of young people that are involved in the sport right now, running all that technology and showing us old people how that stuff works. And hopefully, it'll just continue to get better as we get, better, younger, smarter people involved.
Better, younger, quicker, faster.
Yeah.
Translation, people besides you and me.
Exactly.
There we go.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Dustin yesterday, or is that the average? We'll get the 153.692. I didn't know if that number on the screen was the current 2-lap average that he just completed, and indeed it was. So he lost a spot so far. Again, as we said yesterday, John, these are official times in that those speeds are correct, but the boats still have to go through tech inspection.
Yeah, and as mentioned before, we've got a black box in the boat that's really orange. But that black box is a data acquisition unit that collects information from the propeller speed off the N2. There's a magnetic pickup in there that counts the revolutions, and then a couple of flow meters in there on the low pressure side and on the high pressure side that will give us the ability to monitor the fuel flow, which is restricted these days to 4.2 gallons per minute.
Morning, sir.
Now, but I got a piece of good news for you.
Okay.
Look right down there on that big whiteboard. See that big check up there by the 91?
I do.
They have cleared tech inspection. So, Andrew Tate's 2-lap average of 154.461 right now, it's legit.
Wow.
It's not only the top qualifier for the 2023 APBA Gold Cup, but it's also the fastest Gold Cup qualifying speed ever on a 2-mile race course. But we are not done. Because in, I guess it was Madison, Indiana, and in the Tri-Cities last week, it came down to the last run and the last lap by Corey Peabody in the U9 to get the top spot on the qualifying ladder. And Corey's boat is in the water right now. And we will see him out here shortly, looking to see if I can see any other boats. I'm still looking. We can't see that side of the pit area, but I'm going to assume I'm just going to say that Scott and Shannon's boat should be coming out. I think I just heard U11 in the background. So we should have the U11, the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. I met some people here yesterday from the Old Cannery, and they were very, very happy to be here. They were very pleased, and as we said yesterday, they were on Scott and Shannon Rainey's boat a year ago, and we're so happy with it. They came back aboard, and we're glad to have them here.
Well, Scott and Shannon have done such a good job, and they are so good with the sponsors and the people and all of those that help us to keep these boats on the race course. And as mentioned yesterday, I see an uptick in that. The flavor pack people are so welcome to the sport here, and we've had great sponsors over the past, and it's really nice to get some new ones again with the young people and all. I really think the sport's on the way up again.
Well, and certainly that is indicated or indicative of that is we've got an increased boat count this year than we had over last year. Are we where we want to be? No, but we're taking steps in the right direction. That's another indicator that I think the sport is on an uptick. Jamie Nielsen, the young man out of Gig Harbor, Washington, is on the clock for his second qualifying run. Jamie had a 2-lap average yesterday, a 147.314. And like all you drivers, and I'm throwing you in that category, I'm going to your driver's hat this time. When I talked to him yesterday afternoon, he says, well, yeah, I want to go faster. But he says you've never, and I kind of chuckled. He goes, have you ever heard a driver say I want to go slower?
That's right.
That's just your mentality, though, right?
It is, and that's one of the reasons that these seats are filled with these kinds of guys and these kinds of drivers is that enough is never enough. They always want to go faster. They always want to do better. They'll go out there, and I'm sure that even Andrew Tate right now, sitting on the top of our leaderboard here with the fastest Gold Cup lap, the fastest average here right now. He's looking at all the things he could have done better. He's looking at all the things he may have done different that would make the boat just a little bit quicker. And I'll guarantee you that the guys working on this stuff have still got the best propeller in the box. They've still got the stuff that they'll set up for that final heat.
That's speed 144.5 or 953, 144.953. Yesterday he had 2-lap average of a $147, so he's off the pace a little bit from what he did yesterday. Jamie up at the top end of the race course. Very, very, very famous I-90 floating bridge in the background. Ever since we've been running here, John, since 1951, that bridge has been the backdrop as they go to the top end of the race course. Jamie Nielsen in the U11 Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. Get a lap 2 speed here from H1 Unlimited's Mike Morissette. Pretty close to that one, a little bit slower, 144.910 miles per hour, and it looks like he has pulled his foot up the backstretch.
I think so. Those numbers being so close together like that on 2 independent laps, tells me that's all there is.
Okay.
There's just nothing left. Jamie's at a point right now where he's figuring there's no reason to lay down another one, put more time, more stress on the equipment. We'll go back, make some changes, and come back with a faster setup for the next round.
Yeah, to increase his qualifying average of 147 with the 2 laps at 144, he'd be jumping that all the way up to 150, 151 to increase things. So he'll bring it back, not stretch the equipment any further. John, I'm going to go back into memory banks on you here a little bit. We were having a fun discussion driving in this morning in my automobile as we were talking over coffee. It was 50 years ago this weekend that the famous 1973 World's Championship Regatta was held out here on the big 3-mile race course, the famous Race in the Rain.
Yes.
And I always refer to that Heat 1C of that particular event as the greatest heat nobody ever saw. Where were you back in 73? Were you around here?
In 73, that was a year that my second daughter, Makaiva, was born. And she was born the same year as the Winged Wonder there, so that's the way I remember things typically.
There you go.
With boat race stuff. So so I was involved with several teams, doing some, basically beginner, type work, getting involved with things. I was going to the races in those days mostly if I could give somebody a hand as a helping hand, and trying to learn, my craft and figure out how I was going to fit into this sport later on. So I was not with any one particular team at that point in time, but I was here as a fan.
So you remember that wonderful, warm, sunny, bleak,
absolutely.
gray, rainy
Yeah,
drizzle. I was well, beyond the pit area there, well, we can see it certainly from here. There's a point of land sticking out down there, and I was on that point. I watched the footage of that particular heat that you can find very easily on YouTube. And I tell my wife, I said, now when they show the boats going down to the lower corner and you really can't see them all that well, but you will see all these crazy people that are standing out in the water up to their waist. That's me.
Yeah,
That's where I was. Back in the day, they didn't shoo us out of the water as we do now for safety purposes and so forth. And, yep, I was standing in the water, and like I say, it was the greatest heat maybe nobody ever saw. We had never seen competition laps in excess of 120 miles an hour. And I think the first one, I think Mickey laid it down at like 120, 121. Then they went 123. Then they went 124. And I'll just never, ever forget that heat. Yeah. For my way of thinking, and part of it is because of the mystique of the rain and the weather, I think maybe it's the greatest heat of competition I ever saw.
Yeah, it was a really fun day, and those are the ones that you remember, is when everybody's running so close and side by side. And I think that we're setting ourselves up for one of those kinds of weekends here. We've got 9 of the fastest boats this sport and the world has ever seen, sitting in the pit side by side here, raring to go, anxious to go. The drivers know this is the last race of the season. They're excited about finishing on a good note. And the owners, of course, are trying to please themselves and their sponsors, and everybody here, as this is a local hometown race, and a lot of pressure, whether it's indicated or not, whether the guys show it or not. Everybody wants to win this race, and in addition to all of those things just mentioned, it's the Gold Cup, the oldest perpetual trophy in the history of the sport. I think this is the 113th time, but I think it's the 116th year. And a couple of the races, I'll have to look this up exactly, but a couple of the races were started and then postponed because of weather, or canceled because of weather, and I think we've done this 116 times altogether.
It's a big number, and your 113 is indeed correct, as Corey Peabody comes away from the Stansares Memorial Pit area in the U9, the Beacon Plumbing. The boat is white. If I describe it to you, it probably isn't going to sound very exciting. It's white, and it's got very large block blue lettering on it, but it's got that reflective metallic shine to it, or I don't know what color it is. Where's Corey going here? Is Corey going? He's going to go down. Now, I got a question for you, because we saw this last week in the Tri-Cities. The boats were coming out of the pit area during the qualifying session and going way down toward the Blue Bridge. And then they were turning very wide and going up the backstretch. And I was assuming, you're going to tell me, somebody came up and asked me, what are they doing? And I said, I think they're trying to keep their own wake out of that lower corner. Is that what's going on here, too?
It's two things. They're trying to, not have to run over their own wake when they come back, because they're still going fairly slow there, and these things are digging giant holes in the water that they don't want to have to run through it at 185 miles per hour. The other thing is they're timing their starts on the outside at, just above 80 miles per hour, which is the minimum speed.
Yep.
But how long does it take me if I'm out on the outside and running the course markers out there? If I get down there a little bit early, can I brush off some time there?
Very good. A man who would know. Corey Peabody comes across start-finish line in the U9, the Beacon Plumbing. And I said this yesterday, I'll say it again until it happens, John Walters. They had the incident in Madison, Indiana, where the boat spun down in the lower corner. They broke the strut and were done for the day. But aside from that heat, nobody has solved the Corey Peabody puzzle. If he's finished, he's been out in front every single time. This boat is a rocket.
Yeah, they're fast, and the guys that work on this thing are real clever, and they pull every trick out of the hat, especially this weekend for the Gold Cup and all. Corey doesn't make mistakes, and if he makes something that maybe he could have done better, he learns from that and applies that in the next opportunity that he gets to get the boat around the race course. But they've got the boat set up to where it runs slight on its feet. It's nice and easy. It seems to be fairly controllable and responsive to the front wing. And again, Corey does a really nice job of staying on top of it.
And I'm really glad you said that, because I started by talking about the boat. They rebuilt this thing during the off-season after the crash in Madison, and here's Corey out here running it so well. But I'm glad you went beyond the boat and talked about Corey, because he has really been impressive with this thing.
This is a full-time job for Corey, much like it was in the days that I was driving, and we had more full-time teams, and it's more than a full-time effort from Corey. He works in the off-season to help streamline the rule book and different things. He's still part of the competition committee and joins the meetings with that and brings a driver's perspective, also representing the owner with the Strongs there. So yeah, he's fully involved in making the sport better, and he's making his living from doing it. So it's very close to his heart, and he loves the sport. He loves to do things involved in the sport to make it better, and just a fierce competitor as well.
Yes, he is. Second lap 150.043. Honestly, John, I'm a little bit surprised at this. I was expecting maybe a little bit quicker. He's been our top qualifier at a couple of race sites this year, but it does not look like he's going to get there. By the way, Dylan Runney in the U1, his 2-lap average of 150 and change has cleared tech inspection, as has Dustin Eccles in the flavor pack. He has cleared tech as well. Here comes Corey Peabody, 3 up and 3 down. His second qualifying run, the first one yesterday, but his second qualifying run is in the books. And we will have a 2-lap average, but I do not think it's going to 150. So this is going to be about 151, and he yesterday ran 151. I think his yesterday's speed is going to be a little bit quicker, but we've got Kim Meredith here with her Cracker Jack calculator taking care of us and running up the numbers. She's shaking her head, but we're giving you credit for it, Kim, so thank you. .049. His speed yesterday 151.297, so that will stand. And Corey Peabody will find himself in 3rd place currently on our qualifying ladder, awaiting the arrival on the water of his teammate J. Michael Kelly in the U8, the Beacon Electric, the bright red boat, as Corey drifts back to the. But what we talked about yesterday, John, and I've always said this, and you were confirming that my comments in the past have been correct. Even if the boat goes out and runs slower than it did yesterday, as we just saw, they still learned a lot.
They absolutely do, and like we mentioned in that chat yesterday, in boat racing as well as life, I found that you learn the most from the things that didn't work. And even though this wasn't the blistering speed that they thought they might get or that might produce, they definitely learned some things, and they'll apply that to the next run. They'll apply that to the combination that goes in the boat for the first heat this afternoon. Kept her up. She needs a lot of sleep. Yeah. And I kept her up way too late sleeping in the Jeep right now. So. Yeah, where is she? Yeah, she literally is asleep in the Jeep right now. She, like I was explaining to Kim, she requires a lot of sleep. And you know, when we come here, she used to live here and teach here and do different things. She's got a lot of friends here. We're trying to cram a week's worth of stuff into a couple of days. Sure, seeing everybody. So we were way late last night getting back to the hotel, and I got her up at 5:15 this morning to be here. So she decided she was going to hang out and take a nap in the Jeep for a little bit. She promised she would show up in a wonderful mood, and everybody would love her when she got here. She'll show up just chipper and. Hey, you know Owen? Well, yeah. Owen sent me a whole bunch of trivia here last night. If there's any of this that you want to go through and take a look at or whatever, there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here. I would like to glance at that. He sent me a ton of that a bit ago. Okay. Maybe it's some of the same stuff. Yes, I would like to scroll through that and get a bit of a break to see if there's a tidbit or two in there. And feel free to throw something out if it makes sense to what we're doing.
Back on the shores of Lake Washington and the Ted Jones Racecourse. It's the 2023 APBA Gold Cup. We are still in our qualifying session from yesterday afternoon, which we are completing this morning, and this should be, I believe, our final boat to come out with an opportunity still to qualify, or maybe I better said would be improve their qualifying speed from yesterday. One boat, however, we have not heard from a second time is the U12, the Graham Trucking and Bobby King. They would have an opportunity to come out and perhaps improve their qualifying speed of 147 miles an hour yesterday. But right now it is J. Michael Kelly up the backstretch. And John, if we were fortunate enough to have one of those very, very expensive yachts tied up to the log boom out there, what a way to wake up in the morning with a turbine motor coming right by the back of right by the stern of your yacht.
It absolutely is, and I've actually had the great pleasure to do that. In the days that Bill Cahill was sponsoring the Beacon Plumbing boat, I was still living in eastern Washington, up in the mountains there, off grid like I do, and when I needed to be here to do different things, Bill Cahill generously offered Arlene and I the ability to live on his yacht that summer, and so we spent the better part of the year on a 70-footer, and of course the race day it was right out here, and that was the first time I'd ever had that opportunity, and
wow.
It was wonderful. So.
Boy, our fans watching on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel just rode along with J. Michael Kelly coming out of the lower corner. You felt like you could have just had a conversation with Mike. The camera shot was so close. Just doing an outstanding job here on the H1 Unlimited live stream team. J. Michael Kelly comes across start finish line. Will put the first one in the books. First one this morning, his qualifying speed yesterday of 149.219 miles an hour. We'll see if we can improve upon that. I really like the boat ride he's getting. Now watch this camera shot here and see if they just don't pull right alongside Mike right there. You could just sit in the cockpit with him. Turn that first lap at 149.896, 149.896. Now that lap right there, John, not by a long way, but it's a little bit quicker than his 2-lap average yesterday. I think he'd like to sniff and clear that 150-mile-an-hour mark.
Yeah, I think so too, and this is a good opportunity for him to do that. Like I say, with these cooler temperatures, and you can see the boat ride is just perfect right now. Just a very light mist coming off that right sponson, and you can pretty much see under the whole boat. Very much in control, and J. Michael Kelly really has a good feel for this boat.
Down to the lower corner on this lap number 3. We'll get a lap 2 speed here. So there, he has eclipsed the 150 mile per hour mark with a lap there of 150.241. So this is going to be an improvement on his qualification average of 149 from yesterday. Mike at the top end of the race course. John, it just doesn't take very long to run 3 quick laps here on this 2-mile race course.
No, at a 2-mile course and averaging 150 miles per hour, you get from one end to the next so quickly, and that's why you saw some of the drivers making wide turns or going on the outer marker buoys there, not so that they didn't leave a big wake for themselves to run over in the next lap.
So we'll get a lap 3. Here we go, 151.073, 151.073. So somewhere in the 150.6 range, I would assume, will be the new 2-lap average speed for J. Michael Kelly in the U8, the Beacon Electric. Mike will cut the race course and come back across. I'm getting better with my math.
There you go.
See
You're
that?
doing well.
I had
Yeah.
150.656, and as I said yesterday, somewhere my 4th grade math teacher is smiling.
So proud. Yeah, so proud.
I remember that kid. And so far, everybody is clearing tech inspection. We mentioned that Andrew Tate and the Goodman Real Estate, with our top qualifying speed of 154.461, he has cleared. So has Dylan Runny in the U1. Dustin Eccles in the U40, the flavor pack, they cleared tech inspection. The U11, Jamie Nielsen, they have cleared tech. We're waiting on Corey Peabody to clear, and for J. Michael Kelly. Do not have word whether or not the U12 is in the water or coming. I'm being told they have passed. So we are not expecting the U12 and our rookie Bobby King to come out on the water. And I'm hoping there's not an issue, and you're going to tell me, no, Brad, don't worry about it, because I'm thinking the rookie would like and take any opportunity to get out on the water just because of seat time, and more laps.
Absolutely. Even if they didn't try to go fast, I know that Bobby would like to spend some time on the race course, get a little seat time, get familiar with this course. He hasn't driven an unlimited hydroplane on this course before, and there are some little nuances, some little special things that the Seattle race course offers that some others don't. That floating bridge at the north end there that we talked about, that sits out there with cars going up and down all day long, generating lots and lots of wakes and rollers coming off of it, which makes those boats on the log boom move around a little bit, and they can get rough down that back straightaway. We don't typically have a lot of wind here, but when we do, it can be an issue as well. And just the fact that Bobby's got a very limited amount of time in this particular boat. He did a real good job in it last weekend, but I know that he'd like to have the opportunity to spend some more time on it this race course, and just some time in the boat, even if it wasn't to improve lap times or even test other equipment. He'd just like to get some times and learn this water a little better.
And I just stepped away from the microphone there for just a moment, and I confirmed something. I mentioned yesterday that 2 of our boats got to come out and actually have their second qualifying run yesterday afternoon before we shut the course down. And those 2 boats were the U60 with Gunnar O'Farrell and the U440 with Brent Hall. Unbeknownst to me, 3 boats had an opportunity to come out yesterday. The 3rd boat was the U12, and Bobby King and the Graham Trucking, they passed. So they passed yesterday. That's why they didn't have an opportunity to come out and run a second time this morning. So our qualifying for the 2023 APBA Gold Cup here on Lake Washington is in the books. All we are waiting for now is confirmation that the U8, the Beacon Electric, and the U9, the Beacon Plumbing, have passed tech inspection, but it's not going to make any difference from the standpoint of the top of our ladder. Andrew Tate in the U91, the Goodman Real Estate, he's our top qualifier, and a very strong showing, 154.461 miles per hour. The team might be very happy about that, but like you said, Andrew will go, I want to go faster.
Yeah, they absolutely will. And the team is pleased with it. They certainly haven't taken the time to celebrate that yet, and probably won't. But they, learn from that. They'll make some adjustments. And, at this point in time, most of the teams run a gearbox for qualifying and a special propeller for qualifying, that sort of thing, knowing that as the water roughens up and they've got other competitors on the race course, that they'll want to come down a little bit in gear and maybe propeller size. And set the boat up for rough water now, because when we get 4 boats at a time on this course, it does get rough, and it gets accentuated by all those boats on the log boom and up in the north end there, the floating bridge, like I'd mentioned a couple couple of times already. It can get, you know, a lot of swells, a lot of really rough water out here, and you don't see it when you're on the beach. You look across, and all you see is across the top of it, and it looks really smooth and flat. But if you watch the boats, you watch the buoys, you watch the things that are out there, they're moving around quite a bit, and they'll go up and down a couple of feet, you know, with those swells that are out there. So those big holes, they'll try to set the boats up to where they can fly across the top of that stuff and not bang around down inside them.
Speaking of rookie drivers who want to get more seat time any opportunity they can, we look down toward the pit area. We see the U60, the Beast Unleashed. I just like that, John. The Beast Unleashed.
That's fun.
Presents Miss Thriftway and Gunnar O'Farrell, another of our rookie drivers this year. He is in the boat. The boat is in the water. I expect they will be coming out here shortly, and it'll just be testing from here on out. We have the water until 10:15, 10:30. So that's what's next up on the docket. I'm Brad Luce. He's John Walters. We're going to step away for just one moment, and we will be back as more activity at the 2023 HomeStreet Bank APBA Gold Cup on Lake Washington. So back here on the start-finish line tower on the Ted Jones Racecourse at the south end of Lake Washington, we are done with our qualification efforts from yesterday that we completed this morning. Now we are in full testing mode, as John and I were talking a couple of minutes ago. And as such, We have a couple of boats out on the water. We can run up to 3 boats at a time out here, and John and I were talking about how you would think that a guy like Bobby King in the U12 to Graham Trucking would take every opportunity to get on the water. As soon as we got done with qualifying, first boat away from the dock, Bobby King in the U12 to Graham Trucking. That is the predominantly red hydroplane on the inside, and on the outside of him is another rookie that we've got here at the 2023 Gold Cup, that being Gunnar O'Farrell. Now, the difference between Gunnar and Bobby on the driver qualification ladder, if you will, is both have completed all of their laps to become qualified, but they also have to go through some protocol on their first couple of heats of competition. They have to start on the outside and behind the field. Bobby King has done that already, doing it last week in the Tri-Cities. Gunnar O'Farrell still has that yet to do. So Gunnar across the start-finish line in the Beast Unleashed presents Miss Thriftway. Bobby King, I'm anxious to see what he does here, see if perhaps he doesn't stay out on the race course and go slowly around said race course. As John and I were talking earlier, doing some timing marks, understanding, because this is the first time he's been on Lake Washington, understanding how long it takes to get from point A to point B, because as John and I will talk later on in the day here as we get closer to racing, all of our H1 Unlimited racing is done on a clock start. Bottom line and the end game is put your boat at the start-finish line right in front of John and I at full song. Just as the clock strikes 0, be just to the left and behind that start-finish line. If you are across it too early, you incur the wrath of the officials and you have to take an extra lap. I noticed Gunnar O'Farrell that time came off the top end of the race course and charged hard to the start-finish line, finding how long it takes to get there, but the key being he did it on the outside, because that's where he is going to have to start in at least his first 2 heats today. Now watch Bobby King, see what he does. He's sitting on an inside lane. Now watch, he'll put the foot down, and here he comes. He'll make a charge to the line. Bobby King, the U12 to Graham Trucking. This is what we call a timing run. He is talking to his radio man, checking off buoys as he goes by them. Stopwatches are started to click and find out how long it takes to get from here to there. So when we're getting ready to go racing and they get to that spot on the race course, the radio man can tell him to mash the gas and away he goes. We did receive word this morning. This is a bit of a technicality. We talked this morning about the U440, the Boitano Homes that unfortunately exploded a gearbox late yesterday afternoon and would not be running today. They have officially withdrawn, and John Walters, will ask him when he gets back on here. He knows all about that because he is our chief H1 inspector, and there is specific paperwork that has to be filed when someone does want to withdraw. I think John might be jumping back in here for a minute. You had a little break. How's the coffee this morning?
It's excellent, thank you.
And I was talking about the 440 officially withdrawing, meaning they filed the paperwork, and that's something you know all about.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons I was a little late getting up here this morning, is that H1 requires an official withdrawal slip, and of course the teams hate to do that, and they still think right up till the very last minute that they might be able to fix things. But unfortunately, in this situation where parts and things were broken that are irreplaceable, things that just couldn't be done in the time frame that it would take to get it done, they did officially withdraw. And the reason that it's important that they officially withdraw as far as H1 and the other competitors are concerned, it makes a big difference in the draw. If they do not officially withdraw, then their number goes in the drawing for the heats, which could significantly change who races against each other, and to get that all done and then withdraw after that, it causes a lot of issues and a lot of problems. So both Kelly and the team were graciously able to get that done, and it's unfortunate. I know a lot of people here are big fans of the 440 and certainly of Brent Hall, and we'd like to see them run. And I truly hope that Brent can get one more lap today in somebody's boat of 130 miles per hour plus, so that he can be a qualified driver and not have to wait another year to accomplish that.
Yeah, and people might be watching and listening and thinking, well, who cares? I mean, we're done. This is the final race of the season. He's not going to race. But it would be a big deal. Get that qualification under his belt. They could feel at least that sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely, and what a disappointment. This has been a lifetime dream for Brent to go all the way to the last race of the season and miss it by one lap. I think that the team, Brent, everybody would feel rest a lot easier in this off season, and the work could be a lot more productive, knowing that he had that part of it out of the way. So good luck to Brent and the 440 team. I know that we've talked about this before. That 440 boat was built originally as a Grand Prix boat to run in a smaller class. It unfortunately was just a little bit too big, a little bit too heavy, and really was not competitive in that class. And so Glenn Davis had some T53 engines, a smaller version of the Lycoming engine, and they decided to put one of those in the boat. And as the guys figured it out, the horsepower to weight ratio is very good. As they figured that out, and the boat continually to get faster over the last few years, that Grand Prix hardware just wasn't stout enough. It just wasn't strong enough to handle the kinds of speeds, the loads that are put on these boats in racing conditions. And so it's been a big learning curve for everyone, and they've done a marvelous job getting that boat to run the kinds of speeds that boat does. And it's been a big difference for them, but they learned an awful lot of things that went directly in the 40 boat that makes it the fast boat that we see from them today.
Just got a note from our producer engineer Kim Meredith here that we were awaiting information on the 8 and the 9, the Beacon Electric and the Beacon Plumbing, with regards to tech inspection. They have cleared. So everybody cleared tech inspection. The qualifying ladder that our fans were seeing on the screen here a moment ago, those are all confirmed. And we talk about seat time. Gunner's getting a bunch of it out there. He's just been running around and around, and he's been starting on the outside and timing himself, and that's where he's going to have to run those first 2 heats today. And he's getting some very valuable time.
Absolutely. There just is nothing better than for seat time for these young drivers and new drivers, especially the ones that haven't competed before and haven't had much time to figure out the things that are special about the Lake Washington Ted Jones race course here. So it's great to see him get some time. That'll build confidence in both him, the boat, and the team. That allows them to move on to making the boat competitive and getting Gunner in a position to make good starts and be competitive and get those rookie heats out of the way so that he can go out there and mix it up with the boys.
And you talk about rookie drivers, and he is one, and here comes Gunner one more time across start-finish line. I got some interesting notes here in front of me because we had 4 rookie drivers involved in our circuit this year. Seemed like a big number, especially when we're running a max of 9 boats at a race. We had 4 rookies involved. The last time we had 4 rookies in a single season, we had to go back to 2010. And I'm not going to make you name all 4 of them here because I'm sure your memory is good enough. You would whip them off here pretty quick. But it was, for those that are interested, it was Cal Phipps, John Zimmerman, a.k.a. the Rocket Man, Al Karstensen, and Ryan Mallow. But here's a good one. Now, we can't go all the way back. We only went back about 50, 60 years. We couldn't go way back to the 1940s and the 1930s because back then it was kind of a rung what you brung at all these events, and you could have 18, 19, 20 rookies. Yep. So it was kind of defining it a little bit different, but the racing was different. But if we go back to more modern day racing, 1974, there were 9 rookie drivers in the 1974 season. But you see that little asterisk down there? Yes. I want you to tell me if that's true, because we initially thought there were 10, because it says here some guy named John Walters did not race, but he tested an Unlimited as a rookie. Did you get your first test ride in 1974? Does that sound about right?
It absolutely is, and that was a matter of fact. It was in San Diego with Jim McCormick and the Redman team out of Owensboro, Kentucky, and I got the opportunity to go out there and drive a big boat for the first time, and an amazing thing, something I'll never forget.
There we go, because I was talking to Jim Sharkey, and I was talking to Nick Kish, and we were pulling all this information together, and that asterisk came up, and I think it came from Sharkey, and I said, all right, we're going to put it in there, and didn't realize until this morning. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I can actually ask you about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a really fun thing, and I was actually working on the boat then, and it was a strange thing because Jim had been in a very serious accident in Miami. And ended up getting pitched out of the boat, had some 300 stitches in his legs, and you know, wasn't able to drive the boat. And so he was anxious to get back in it, and we had a couple of different drivers at different times. Tom Sheehy drove a little bit, and Jerry Bangs drove a little bit, and so as we were switching the seats back and forth and trying to get everything to work, the conversation presented itself, and I got the opportunity to go for my first ride on a race course in an unlimited hydroplane.
That is very, very cool. I just noticed something on our live stream screen, and we will get with the live stream team and make a correction on there. I kind of got, well, it was tongue-in-cheek and it was a lot of fun, but I got bit yesterday a little bit down in the pit area. Calls were coming in from as far away as Tonawanda, New York yesterday saying, wait a minute, they're saying on here that Gunnar O'Farrell is 28 years of age. And I said, have I been saying that? Anyway, it was kind of humorous, and I got stopped 3 or 4 times when I went down back into the pit area. And I go, well, okay, if I've been saying it wrong, I'm sorry. How old is he? Well, he's 25 years old. And so I went back to our spotters guides here, and I said, well, let me take a look here. And what do we have? Well, we have him in here at 25 years of age. I now know where it came from. It said on the screen there 28.
Gotcha.
He is 25 years of age, and I apologize to the young man yesterday. And I can tell you our Cracker Jack live stream team is making a change as we speak. And I also know, just to finish on this rookie story, I'm sure there are some fans out there on the live stream who are saying, well, come on, you were talking about all these rookies in 74. Who were they? There are some inquiring minds out there. How about these names, John? Ron Armstrong.
Yeah.
Howie Benz. E. Milner Irvin III. George Walther. Jerry Bangs. Now, get these 2 names. Stan Jones and Bob Saniga from Australia.
Wow.
Pete LaRock and Ron Snyder. Yeah. They were the 9 rookies in the 1974 H1 season. Pretty good stuff there. And you were part of it with an asterisk. How
really
about that?
Good stuff. Yeah, sometimes that's just the way my career was. A lot of it was with an asterisk. Or sometimes just the exception to the rule.
There you go. So on my clock, it is 9:13. Our course is still open for testing. I'm going to assume that 25-year-old Gunnar O'Farrell in the Beast Unleashed, they just unleashed it for about 12 laps out here. I got to think the kid's probably wanting a drink of water down there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure he's tired.
That was a good effort by them, and he got a lot done out there, and a lot of just flat rear end in the seat and get in the feel of the Ted Jones race course. I'm Brad Luce. He is John Walters. We are live on the start-finish line on Lake Washington, the Ted Jones Memorial Race Course. It is the 2023 HomeStreet Bank APBA Gold Cup. It's quiet right now. We will be back shortly as soon as we have activity on the water, but John and I are going to step away. Stay with us, fans. Hello, race fans, and hello, Seafair. Welcome to the 2023 HomeStreet Bank Cup, APBA Gold Cup, and Boeing Air Show. My name is Brad Luce, and along with producer, engineer Kim Meredith, it is my responsibility to keep you, the fans, apprised of everything that is happening this weekend, and it will be a very, very busy weekend. Once again, Seafair has put together an action-packed weekend as part of our favorite summer celebration. Working with Kim and me on the tower this weekend is a man who needs absolutely no introduction at all to hydroplane racing. I made the comment yesterday he literally has done everything associated with our sport, from being a team crew chief, team manager. He's driven, he's been a referee, he's currently one of our H1 Unlimited inspectors. But you know what? He also is the first driver ever to win a race in a turbine-powered hydroplane. It is with great pleasure I welcome to the broadcast Mr. John Walters. John, good morning. Welcome to Seafair.
Good morning, Brad, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm going to have a tough time living up to all that stuff, I suspect, but it's wonderful to be here with you and Kim, and I've known Kim's dad for a long, long time, and we're close friends, and it's just like old family here in Seattle as we're looking out over the Ted Jones Racecourse for the 113th running of the APBA Gold Cup, which is, as most of you know, the oldest perpetual trophy in all of motorsports, and so many great names, so many great boats, so many historians can go on and on, pages and pages of wonderful people and events that have found their way into the Hall of Fame and different things in boat racing from here in Seattle and all the places that we race these boats. So wonderful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. It's going to be a great weekend. We've got 8 of the fastest boats the sport's ever seen, the world's ever seen, all gunning for this 113th running of the Gold Cup. It's going to be fantastic, and I think we're going to see some of the best boat racing we've ever seen.
Well, we certainly have a field that parity comes to mind when you talk about them from top to bottom. We've had great racing across the country, and I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I fully expect that we are going to see some tremendous deck-to-deck racing. That's what the fans like. That's what you like, John. That's what everybody wants to see. Put a couple of these boats out on the water and put them side by side. It is a visual that is aesthetically beautiful when you put a couple of boats side by side in the world's most beautiful setting. As soon as we blow this gray stuff off, it gets mighty pretty here. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are as well.
I am very much looking forward to it, and Like I say, these boats are so big and powerful. They're fun to watch, and they're beautiful. I mean, all the water that's in the air, and people don't realize when they see these things skimming across the water, floating on a cushion of air, believing that it's so smooth and all, but it's actually very violent. The boats, they bang the guys around quite hard. They're belted into these things, and when they tighten up the seat belts, if the guy can breathe, they're still not quite tight enough, and they still get banged around, and it's difficult to see, but boy, they're beautiful. They're fun to watch, and like I say, there's rooster tails in the air and the beautiful setting in the background. It's good to be in Seattle.
It is indeed. And, John, we've already had activity out on the water, and I want to run through this quickly because yesterday afternoon we did not get to complete our full qualifying session. Our boats all get an opportunity to run twice. We only had 3 of our 9 boats have that opportunity to run 3 times. Thus, this morning at 8 o'clock, we opened the course and gave those 6 boats that did not get an opportunity to run a second qualifying time, we gave them the opportunity to do so. Those 6 boats all ran, and as a result, we have a change to our qualifying ladder. Everything is official. Everything has cleared tech inspection, and when the dust settled, our top qualifier for the 2023 APBA Gold Cup, the HomeStreet APBA Gold Cup, was U91. Andrew Tate and the Goodman Real Estate, they turned in a 2-lap average this morning of 154.461 miles per hour. John, before you comment on this, I'm going to quickly run down the ladder because I'm expecting we're going to have some more action on the water. Here's a couple of boats are dockside ready to come. Our second fastest qualifier for this weekend's event, the U40, the Flavor Pack, Dustin Eccles, a 2-lap average, 153.692 miles per hour. Third fastest qualifier, Corey Peabody in the U9 to Beacon Plumbing. He turned a 2-lap average at 151.297 miles per hour. His teammate, J. Michael Kelly, driving the bright red, the U8 Beacon Electric, a 2-lap average of 150.656 miles per. Then it was the U1, the Miss HomeStreet, Dylan Runny, another 150 mile per hour qualifying effort, 150.068. Then we dropped down to our 6th fastest qualifier, the rookie Bobby King, aboard the U12, the Graham Trucking. He posted a 147.454 qualifying speed. That was yesterday afternoon. The 7th boat on the ladder, Jamie Nielsen, driving the Legend Yacht Transport, presented by the Old Cannery Furniture Warehouse. Jamie was clocked in at 147.314. The U60 was our 8th fastest qualifier. The U60, the Beast Unleashed, driven by Gunnar O'Farrell. He was our 8th fastest qualifier, and unfortunately we qualified the U40 yesterday, the U440 of Bucket List Racing, sponsored by Boitano Homes. The boat got qualified. Unfortunately, Brent Hall came up 1 lap short. He did not get qualified as a result of a catastrophic gearbox failure. They have filed the paperwork with you, John Walters, to withdraw from this event. We're down to an 8-boat field. Our top qualifier is at the top end of the race course. Already had a bunch of activity today.
Yeah, it's been real exciting to watch these boats run this morning and yesterday. Huge changes in the weather. But the teams are able to make the adjustments to make it all work. The engines actually like this cooler weather and that a lot better. It's a real shame that the 440 had some mechanical problems there and had to withdraw, and even more of a shame that Brent, as hard as he's worked, is going to come up 1 lap short of being a qualified driver for this year. But the 8 boats that are left, the 8 fastest boats in the world. And I think that these things are going to put on just an amazing show. We've got several rookie drivers that are going to have to start on the outside and behind people until they get their laps in and become qualified drivers. But I'm expecting great things here. The boats are fast. I mean, there's not that much difference from the fastest qualifier to the almost fastest qualifiers. And everybody's working real hard to make them better. The water is great here on the Ted Jones race course. This is Seattle. So it's hometown for many of the races, and most importantly, maybe it's the Gold Cup. The race that everyone wants to win, and the most important, most prestigious, the oldest perpetual trophy in the history of motorsports. In the old days, all the boats were representing a yacht club from 1904 when the Gold Cup first started, or until 1962 when it became more of a financial sort of thing. But the winner then would get to defend the Gold Cup on the race course of their choice, which of course was Detroit usually. And when the slow-mos came out and won some races, and we got to bring the Gold Cup to Seattle, there's been that big rivalry, and it's still a wonderful rivalry. Got a lot of friends, a lot of people that live in the Detroit area that love to come to Seattle, and I certainly love to go to Detroit. It's kind of like going to Yankee Stadium to see a baseball game. So Detroit is our Yankee Stadium. So welcome everyone to Seattle, and get yourself buckled in. I think we're going to have a wonderful weekend here, and some really fast boats, some really great drivers. It's going to be a fun thing to watch.
Thank you very much, John Walters. It is definitely a pleasure to work with you as Andrew Tate, our top qualifier, young man out of Canton, Michigan. He won the Gold Cup in 2018. He would love to do it again here today. He is, as I said, our top qualifier, and as he comes off the lower corner and heads down the backstretch, his radio man will tell him that in front of him and on the left on the inside is J. Michael Kelly driving the U8, the Beacon Electric. So we got a couple of boats on the race course, and as John was saying, qualifying is in the rearview mirror. We are testing now. We have had a draw for our heats 1A and 1B, which will come up later on today. We've had that draw. As soon as the officials get it written down on a piece of paper, they are going to walk it down to John, myself, and Kim Meredith, and we will have that for you. For our new fans that are here on the shoreline, welcome. We hope you enjoy the show. I think we're going to give you a good one. J. Michael Kelly comes across at speed there in the bright red U8 Beacon Electric, chasing his good friend out of Canton, Michigan, Andrew Tate, top qualifier up the backstretch. So we're getting speeds, but these are testing speeds. Qualifying, as I say, is done. Everybody was successful in doing that. We'll have a draw, and again, for our new fans that have not been here before, it's a blind draw. There are a bunch of ping pong balls that get put into a hat, if you will, sometimes a big bowl, and they grab some unsuspecting fan and invite them to come pick the ping pong balls out at random to find out who will run against who. They pick out one ball and put that boat's number in Heat 1A, and then they pull out another ball. That one goes in Heat 1B, and we go 1A and B, and that's our first Heat 1, and we divide it into two sections, the A and B. So we will have that draw for our first two heats as soon as we get it handed to us. Taking a look at our schedule for the rest of today. As soon as I find said schedule, which I just did, we are right now in the middle of our H1 Unlimited testing session. We have the water until 10:15. On my watch, it is 9:43. So we have the water until 10:15. Then at 10:15 this morning, we have a special little event that is going to take place here. It'll be a very short event, but I think it's an important one. We are going to pay tribute to the many, many people who are no longer with us, yet had a solid impact and a major impact on the Seattle summer celebration that we know as Seafair. We've got a long list of names. I'm sure you will recognize many of them, and we are going to list each one of them, and we're just going to take about 4 or 5 minutes and remember those who gave so much to this city and to the community and to specifically Seattle Seafair, and we celebrate them today, Saturday, race day, at the 2023 APBA Gold Cup and HomeStreet Bank Cup at Seafair, and also the Boeing Air Show. That will come up at 10:15. That will last until 10:25. Then we're going to go to the air with a couple of our exhibitions from our MH-65 United States Coast Guard Search and Rescue demonstration. They will be over the waters here of Lake Washington. Then at 11:05, the PBY Catalina will come in and pay us a visit. From 11 until 11:30 today, we will have our H1 Unlimited driver autograph session. Now, that will take place just outside the pit area and across Lake Washington Boulevard into Genesee Park. Walk to the park. You will see the Miss HomeStreet display hydroplane there. Right next to that will be a table, and all of our H1 Unlimited drivers will be there. They will sign anything you want as J. Michael Kelly flies across start-finish line there, waving the sponsons at you early arrivals here for the APBA Gold Cup, HomeStreet Bank Cup, and Boeing Air Show. So that autograph session will take place from 11 to 11:30. Then our vintage hydroplanes will take to the water at 11:20. At 11:45, it's the U.S. Army Golden Knights. They will be over the water doing their demonstration. And then it becomes time to go racing. At 12:25 is the scheduled 5-minute mark for Heat 1A of the 2023 APBA Gold Cup and HomeStreet Bank Cup, meaning we will go racing. We will follow Heat 1A, which is slated for 12:30 then to start after the 5-minute mark at 12:25. 12:30 for Heat 1A. 12:55 will be our Heat 1B. So racing coming up this morning on the Unlimited side at 12:30. I guess that wouldn't be morning anymore, but 12:30. We are going to go racing H1 Unlimited style. It is a packed schedule. We'll get into the afternoon schedule a little bit later as we work through it. But lots still to come here on day 2 of 3. It is the 2023 HomeStreet Bank Cup, APBA Gold Cup, and Boeing Air Show. My name is Brad Luce, along with Kim Meredith and John Walters. It's our job to bring you everything that is going on here. I'm going to go chase down a draw, and we'll be back as soon as we have it. A reminder here to our fans up and down the beach. Swimmers, when the boats are on the water or we have an open race course for our hydroplanes on the Ted Jones race course, all of our swimmers must be out of the water anytime the course is open for the hydroplanes on the Ted Jones race course. That would include right now. From my perspective, I don't think I'm ready to jump into the water, but if there is someone out there swimming right now, we need to have you out of the water. This is for your safety. Please, swimmers, out of the water anytime the course is open, and it is right now. Seafair would also like to remind everybody and the race fans here that due to the size of the HomeStreet Bank Cup and the APBA Gold Cup, along with the thousands of people in attendance, it is impossible for us to make announcements of a personal nature. For your safety and convenience, if you become lost or separated from the people you came to the HomeStreet Bank APBA Gold Cup with, please contact any uniformed police officer, security personnel, or medical station for assistance. And maybe right now, take just a moment to get together and plan a place and a time to meet should you become separated. Personal announcements on the public address system are limited to only medical emergencies. We thank you for your help and enjoy the 2023 HomeStreet Bank Cup and APBA Gold Cup. And speaking of HomeStreet Bank, Seafair would like to thank them for their participation in our event. HomeStreet Bank is your local community bank offering high-touch, personal service to families and local businesses. Stop into a branch next week to visit with a friendly banker and find out where there is no place like HomeStreet. And Barnhart Cranes. Barnhart Crane is one of the largest heavy lift and heavy transport organizations in the United States, with over 50 years of service to our community and their customers. Barnhart Crane prides itself on providing innovative solutions for its customers' needs. Barnhart Cranes, thank you from Seafair. Seafair would also like to thank the Tulalip Resort Casino. When all you want is everything, immerse yourself in Washington's premier gaming destination with AAA 4-diamond accommodations, a full-service spa, top-notch entertainment, and award-winning restaurants. Tulalip Resort and Casino, thank you from Seafair.